If there is one thing that I hold above all else as the cornerstone of my growth as a human being, it's my relationship with Rachel. For the past 8 years, we've chosen each other, again and again, in the moments of joy, in the messiness, through every high and every heart-stretching low, we've returned to love. And not just love for each other, but love for ourselves, our path, and the evolution we're committed to walking side by side together. And because of that commitment, we've unlocked something rare, a wellspring of connection, curiosity, joy, and devotion that continues to expand beyond anything I ever imagined possible. In today's episode, I have the absolute honor of welcoming the woman who has been both my greatest mirror and most cherished partner, Rachel Varitimos, to the show. Together, we're diving into what it really means to be in relationship in the modern world, how to know when you found your person, what a relationship is meant to teach you, and some personal stories, from our challenges to our biggest wins, that shaped the foundation we now stand on. Because at the end of the day, if you want a mirror that reflects the deepest truths of who you are, nothing compares to a relationship rooted in trust, integrity, and passion. So with all my love and all my reverence, please help me welcome my queen, Rachel Varitimos, to the show. Rachel Varitimos, or as I like to say, Rachel Varitimos in Pierre's language. It's amazing to be joined here with you today, as always, my better half, my lovely lady, my wonderful queen. And, you know, guys, for everyone tuning in, like I said in the intro, Rachel and I wanted to do this podcast because recently we've been seeing a lot of relationship talk online. Some good, some, well, we would say not so good. And considering that we've been together for 8 years and honestly, our relationship just gets better and better, we wanted to really talk about how to have a highly optimized relationship today here on the show because, you know, there are so many aspects to relationships that can be really confusing, especially in today's world where people are used to getting quick dopamine hits and so as soon as stuff gets challenging, they ditch and they hop back on Tinder. And as we both well know, maybe you guys too listening, and if you have a beautiful relationship in your life, the best things come after the adversity, right? You have to be willing to let things get messy. You have to be willing to hang in the game and not quit. So that's a little bit of what we're going to be getting into today as Rachel takes a nicey on. Good energy movement girl. And anyway, Rachel, I'm super excited to have you here with me today. How you doing, baby?
I'm doing good. I'm a little tired, hence the yawn now, but I'm excited to be here.
Yeah, we're doing this at around 5:30 Eastern. And typically when I podcast around like noon to 2. That's usually my best creative output. But we were like, you know what? We got to bring this magic to the people. And so I want to come off with a question right off the bat for you, Ray. What do you say? You up for it?
I'm here for it. Let's do it.
All right. Let's do it, baby. Okay. So what do you think, as you examine both yourself and me, are the things that have really allowed our relationship to become the beautiful relationship it's become?
I think it's the fact that we have aligned morals and standards, like deeply aligned morals and standards. We have deeply aligned values. I actually think that that's it's like the foundation of any relationship. Like if you're in a relationship and you don't have the same values as your partner, how are you supposed to partner up and build a life together? You build your life on your values. I think that's really like being in relationship with you versus my previous relationships. That's one of the biggest differences, I would say. Number one. Number two, we're really transparent and we tell each other things. Like I actually think that was the other downfall in previous relationships I had is I would tell myself this story that there was just certain things I couldn't tell my partner because it would ruin our relationship. You know, like I couldn't tell him if I thought someone was attractive, or I couldn't tell him like some of my deepest, darkest secrets because what if he thought I was a freak? Like what would happen, you know? And with you, you literally know my deepest, darkest secrets. The ones that I told myself I would go to my grave with. Like, you know, we all have those thoughts that are just like so dark and deep down there that we would never let anyone know. I remember the first time I told you them, I was terrified, but we got into a place of such safety And I told you all these other things. So I was like, well, let's see what happens. And that was so liberating for me. And the third thing I would say, you and I have learned that a relationship is here to grow and evolve. And if we're going to keep growing and evolving in a relationship, then we both have to take accountability for ourselves and our own wounds and our own projections. And that anytime we get into a fight, even if it looks from the outside that it's really one person's fault, it's always both of our faults. It has to be. It has to be for both of us to take the accountability that we need to in order to learn whatever lesson is trying to be learned for us to move forward. And I don't think I really ever understood that about relationships until I started dating you. And I believe that's why me and you have grown and evolved so much in relationship together.
Yeah. I want to share one of your deep secrets with everyone. And that is that Rachel is a werewolf. I didn't know that until I was literally waiting for you to finish. That idea came through and I was like, oh my God, I'm going to tell everyone she's a werewolf and she changes at night. I
swear to God.
Yeah, no. Don't worry, guys. Rachel's not actually a werewolf, okay? But, again, I totally agree with what you're saying. Because, one thing that I experienced in past relationships that was wildly different, and I didn't even really notice until I got into a relationship with you, is that not everyone has staying power. And that was one thing that my parents taught me. For better or worse, my parents didn't have a perfect relationship by any means, but they would always stay. They would fight, they would disagree, but they'd always find a way to work it out. And I think that is so powerful, especially once again in today's world where you can hop on Tinder and find someone that will gloat your ego. And you can just do the same thing over and over and over again. And that's what I see a lot of people running into. And we're gonna talk about a lot of common scenarios we see today, or however many pop up as ideas. But that's one of the ones I see most common around men that I work with is they're not really committed to the idea of what a relationship is really meant to be. They might want to go have sex with hot people. They may like the idea based on a Disney movie of what love is supposed to be. But as soon as stuff gets hard or challenging, they somehow think, oh, this has no place here. This must mean it's a bad relationship. And for anyone, I mean, again, how we do anything is how we do everything. When I play guitar, I have good days and I have challenging days. But you know what separates the boys from the men? I keep showing up. I keep showing up and I keep showing up. And I learn every single time. When it comes to crypto, for instance, and this is something I was just talking about, both of us were talking about with Jonah when we were just catching up with him. And, the idea of hodling. Okay. So for any of my crypto people, you already know what that means. But for people that are like, what the hell is this kid talking about? HODL stands for hold on for dear life. So in crypto, it's very similar to relationships. And I'll tell you why. Because when the chart is green, you feel like, oh my goodness, it's always going to be green. I'm not going to take any money out. I'm amazing. Oh my God, I'm a world-class trader. And then as soon as it gets red, all the anxiety comes out, the panic selling, and that's when people lose a lot of money. But if you can just hodl with crypto, as long as you have a good asset, right? So in analogy here, as long as you have a high quality partner who's willing to grow with you and you can handle the downswings, knowing that when you're down, you're closer to being up. And when you're up, there's going to be a down coming, right? The law of rhythm. Then it really sets you up for not only an extremely high quality relationship, but also like a certain amount of confidence, faith, and trust in yourself first, and also that other person. Like we've got into so many big, challenging arguments. I mean, I think we joked about this in one of the last podcasts, but typically when we go to Virginia, we have about a 10 to 11 hour drive down and back. And it's kind of become a joke that on the way back, we usually get into a fight, but we can't run anywhere, right? Because we got 11 hours in a car together. And honestly, in a weird, strange way, I almost look forward to those challenges because we both know what's coming on the other side of it now. At first, when we first started getting into, challenges, 3-6 months in, yeah, it was scary. It brought up a lot of the past things of, oh my God, is this person going to leave? But at this point, 8 years in, I have complete confidence that so long as either of us didn't do something ridiculously disrespectful to the other one, we will be together 100% forever. And I also have confidence we would never do that Like I have 100% confidence I would never do anything that would be disrespectful towards you. And I have 100% confidence you would never do anything that was disrespectful towards me in terms of things like cheating or like really challenging things like that a lot of people struggle with today. It's very interesting.
Well, yeah, that's what I mean by the same morals and standards, that I think that's like top priority because, you know, I understand that cheating, no one wants that in a relationship, but some people don't think it's a bad thing for some reason. They don't have that same moral compass. They have excuses for why it's okay. Like it hasn't sunk in. I don't know what it is. I don't even want to talk too much about it, but it's basically the morals and standards. And one thing I also want to say is I don't think everyone is meant to stick it out in a relationship and have staying power. You know, I think you know when you find the person whose values, morals, and standards line up enough that you're going to be willing to be in staying power. But if you think of like an abusive relationship where someone's physically abusing someone, I don't think you need to just keep getting punched in the face.
No,
like,
definitely not.
Over and over and over and over again. I think there's like a much deeper lesson there and growth that's wanting to happen. And I truly believe you can have the deepest growth in a relationship than out of a relationship. This is a hot take. Whenever I hear people say, oh, I just had to find myself for 5 years before getting back into a relationship and I did all of this healing and now this perfect relationship is available for me. Well, fuck. I would not have learned all these lessons about myself if I weren't in a relationship. It's impossible. This is something I've been thinking about a lot recently. As humans, we learn through contrast. It's the only way we learn. We're literally here to learn about love by the contrast of having all these obstacles and hate and fear and all of that stuff. And so if you don't have a contrasting part, how are you supposed to learn the deepest lessons if you're just doing it within yourself all the time with no one else to bounce off of, no one else to bring up other parts of you, you know? I'll say that I haven't had much time being single, and I'm not saying that to like brag or toot my own horn. I don't think it's like an amazing thing, but I used to feel guilty over the fact that I haven't had many single years in my life because I would hear people say that they found themselves in a relationship and it's the only way, like out of a relationship, and it was the only way they could have done it. But since being with you, I'm like, no, I would have never gotten any of these lessons and I would have never healed abandonment wounds and then found the deepest self-love ever. I would have never found the level of sovereignty if I didn't have a person to show me, to act as the counterbalance, the comparison to what sovereignty is. You know what I'm saying? Does that make sense?
Yeah, no, definitely. You're talking about the law of polarity, right? And that's how I explain it anyway, where what we are meant to be in this lifetime from one another, whether platonic or romantic, but there are different levels to each, are mirrors for one another. Because the ego is really good at always thinking it's perfect, it's the best, and there's nothing you can improve upon. That's what the ego wants you to think. Because the ego, when it doesn't think it's the best, or it's facing adversity from someone saying, hey, I don't really think you're the best at that, or hey, I think there's an opportunity to improve here, the ego is going to want to shut that voice out. And so if you choose to not shut it out, and this is what I mean by staying power, and of course, everything you said is foundational with regards to, I'm not saying stay no matter what. Like if you're getting punched in the face, like get the hell out of there. Run, all right? Get the hell out. It's never going to get better. Don't wait for them to change. They're not going to change. Get the hell out of there. Once things have gone physical, I don't think there's any coming back. That's my personal opinion. That being said, though, you know, when you're able to actually have staying power with a person that deserves it in your life and someone that you have designated is someone you want to be with, someone that helps you be better, that challenges you, because you don't want someone who's just a yes man or a yes woman in your life, because again, that's not going to get you the growth. You know, there are so many blind spots in my life, in your life, in everyone's life that I've ever come into contact with. And at the end of the day, if we're just alone, it's extremely hard to see them. Because again, if your ego is telling you, dude, you're the fucking man, you got nothing to work on. then if you're just alone, that's all you're going to be hearing. But let's say that your ego is telling you that, and you walk up to someone that you're trying to date and you're like, I think I'm the coolest person ever, so you should date me. Well, they may reflect something a little bit different. And in that moment, you have two options. You have one, fuck that person. They don't know what they're thinking about. Or two, hey, what if they're right? What if I have a blind spot here? So what just happened was they mirrored back how you were being received in a way that you aren't noticing. And now you have an opportunity, so should you choose to take it, to illuminate and evaluate yourself on a deeper level. Now, when you think about a romantic relationship and you think about being with someone for years and years and living with them, and again, the longer you're with someone, I think this is pretty obvious, but the more of those little tiny things are going to come out. You know all my things at this point. I know all your things. And what's great about it is that we can laugh about it now. But a lot of the time we didn't laugh about it, right? There were things that frustrated me about you and vice versa. And I had to realize that had nothing to do with you. And you got to realize it had nothing to do with me. It was something inside of me, an expectation that was unconscious that wasn't being met, or, I felt slighted over. And so I would feel a feeling of frustration and project it outwards to you. But it wasn't until we've had many, 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 many conversations and arguments and discussions where I got to realize, yeah, just like I teach and have been teaching for years, as within, so without. If you spot it, you got it. And that is a very triggering element to the ego. That if you see this person out there being an asshole, well, why can you see they're being an asshole? Because you have asshole qualities inside of you. And that's what the mirror is meant to do, is put the focus back on the only person and in the only place that it actually has any warrant to change anything, which is inside of yourself.
Yeah. Totally. I feel like I had something to say, but I don't remember. It left my head as you were talking.
That's okay. I got a good question for you, okay? Because I think for a lot of people out there, I talk to a lot of people that really envy our relationship, the fact that we're in love, all these kind of things. And I think that's so amazing. And at the same time, I want to always be honest with people that Rachel and I are not constantly like, oh my God, everything's perfect, because that wouldn't be the point. Okay. Like if we wanted that, we would have never left oneness. We came down here to experience separateness and to reclaim wholeness between each other. And so I am curious, and I'm going to answer this after you, but when you first met me, what were some of the signs that I was a safe man and that I was attractive to you? Not in the physical sense, right? Everyone knows I'm the most attractive. There's my ego. Just kidding. But again, like what were some of the telltale signs that you looked for that I met? Because I think a lot of people listening, maybe this could really support them in terms of like what they should be looking for from a man and a woman's perspective. Now, again, we're not objective in nature, guys. Okay. We're not like setting the standard here, but at least we can share with you what went through our minds and hearts when we decided to commit to a partnership together. So what was that like for you? What did you notice about me that made you feel safe in your body, excited you? What were some of those qualities?
We had a lot in common. That was fun for me. I had never had any relationship in my life who had as much in common with me as you, not even my friendships. In fact, I met you at the dispensary, the cannabis dispensary, because when I started working there, and starting to work there was me in desperation looking for friends who liked something that was similar to me. All my other girlfriends did not like cannabis. I couldn't talk to anyone about cannabis. Also, growing up, none of my girlfriends liked to go to the gym like I did. Also, there's so many things. They didn't like to eat healthy food and drink good water. I got made fun of by my friends in college for me being so serious about water. They were always like, oh, Rachel and her water. So I literally never had friends who had the same interests, values, standards as me. And when I met you, you had all of them, like to a T. Like it was kind of scary. I was like, wait, you like good water. You like to grow cannabis. You like cannabis in the way I do. You don't just like to smoke it. You love everything about it. You love working out and eating healthy. And it was like all of my passions. I finally had someone who I could talk to about it. And I was dating someone else at the time. So I remember thinking you could be my best friend. I ended up breaking up with my boyfriend and then asking him out, and he was clueless. But that's really, yeah, that's really was like huge for me. It was the interests. It's also that I could tell you were a really nice guy. I am not the kind of girl who is attracted to bad boys. I don't find it attractive. Like, I know some girls are just into it. It disgusts me. I mean, I'm not saying if you're a bad boy listening to this, you disgust me. I'm just saying, like, I'm just not, my energy doesn't feel like it wants that. Yeah. I naturally can feel if someone is like a compassionate, good-hearted person, and that turns me on. You were funny. I love funny. You could talk and have a conversation. And I've never had a boyfriend where I could just like sit with me and you can talk for hours, hours, forever, you know? So it was just kind of like you, like, because it was all of those things. I can't think of like.
I mean, also, let me ask you this. How did you feel in your body when you met me?
I think excited, intrigued. I don't know. I don't think I really noticed that back then. It was more of just maybe I wanted you to notice me type thing. And so like, I definitely would be like feeling attractive in my body when I was around you, thinking like, is he looking at me? Because I'm attracted.
And I was. Spoiler alert, I was.
I don't, you know what? Like, I don't want to say this from an ego place. It's really not the purpose of why I'm saying this. I think I have a really good picker. I've always like just,
no, you
I can just feel, I just feel it and I know it. That's all.
Yeah. I mean, and again, like, what would lead to you having a good ability to pick and choose correctly for yourself? It would be an awareness. Well, also, you're aware of who you really are. You know what your interests are. You know what passions you have. You're also open to being passionate around being passionate. So it's not even like, because again, when we first met each other, we both are into a lot of stuff now that we weren't into then, but we had that passion for living. And that was one of the first things I noticed was your energy. Your energy felt very, what I would now call safe to me. It also felt very feminine, which I didn't know any of this stuff back 8 years ago. But when I can look at my past relationships, I was going after women that were more in their masculine. Because of that phase, I was a little more in my feminine. You know, I wasn't really out there like taking action and doing stuff. Yeah, I was working out. I had my passions and stuff, but I had a lot of limiting beliefs and things like that. And so when I met you, you just lit up the entire dispensary. I mean, straight up. The first day you walked in, the energy shifted. And everything in my body went, I want to find out what that energy is. It was intriguing to me. It sparked curiosity. And every time I would talk to you, very similar to how you said, not only did you like the same things I did, but you also challenged me in a healthy amount of competition, which is something I feel in relationship anyway, at least for me, I don't know if this is for everyone, is extremely necessary. Like I grow, like if I see someone in my life doing something rad, it inspires me to do something rad. And if we can create a conscious, healthy competition with it, it makes me want to grow faster. And so when I first talked to you and we talked about growing cannabis and I thought I was the man because I had 3 tents down in my mom's basement, you know, all of a sudden you're like, yeah, my dad's an engineer. He's building me my own Slucket recirculating deep water culture systems. And I have 2 4x8 gorilla tents. And I'm like, holy shit, I got to step my game up. And because of that, like we've always kept that going. It's a healthy thing. It's not toxic. I've been in a lot of toxic competition in my life, so I know what that feels like. For me, it was fun. I didn't care about actually being better than you at growing or whatever else. But it was like, well, if Rachel's sending it that hard, why aren't I? I should be sending it harder. I can do that. And then if you see me doing, you're like, hey, I'm going to do that, right? Like, and I think that's really fun because again, why did we first connect with each other? We have a lot of similarities. So why would we not take inspiration from one another? One of the other things I noticed about you, just to, you know, gloat your ego a little bit more and really pile it on because you deserve it, is how loving you were. That was something that is still changing my life to this very day. But one thing I don't think I've ever told on a podcast before about when we first met, it's just a funny story, but you obviously know what it is. But when we first met, it was around like May or June, I think, when you got hired at the dispensary. You had a boyfriend. I have never been a homewrecker, so I just kind of went hands off, all good. I thought you were very attractive. I obviously felt the connection, but I was like, hey, cool. She'll just be like a really good friend of mine, and that's great. And then around August, you had broken up with your boyfriend, and we started hooking up essentially. And I remember it was after the first night we spent together. And we didn't have sex or anything. We just rolled around and made out and did mushrooms. It was amazing.
That's one of my things, ladies, never on the first date, not even the first couple.
I honestly say for men too, like I'll have a hot take here for men. Don't have sex with a woman on the first date. These are just my personal opinions here. But number one, why do you want to rush it? Number two, you're exchanging sexual energy with someone. You want to make sure there's someone that's not like wild, because people can hide a lot of stuff. Okay. And if you're not really in tune with energy, it's very easy to get the wool pulled over your eyes. But, again, I think that people rush into sex, and I'm not here to shame anyone. Like, do whatever the hell you want, guys. This is just my personal ethos. I don't care what you do. But, again, I can tell you that us waiting was amazing. Because, again, I wanted to show you, like, I'm not in it just because you're very attractive physically. Like, yes, you are. But, like, I feel something much deeper here, and I'm okay waiting as long as it takes. Because I felt in my heart, it kind of scared me at the time. But I was like, this may be the last relationship I'm ever in. Like, straight up. And now I know that to my core. But one of the funny things that happened was at this point in my life, I was kind of a basket case a little bit with regards to upregulation of my nervous system. I actually recently went through okay, what was the year 2017 for me? And it was a lot of stuff. Like, that was the year that I literally thought I was going to die of mushrooms. It was the year I puddled myself with 50 hits of acid right before we started hooking up. That was right then. It was also the year that I took a gel tab at another music festival and literally just had to stay in a hammock the entire festival. Like, for the whole day. It was a one-day festival. I had to stay in the hammock the whole day. All those events happened in 1 year. So I was going to a festival called Oregon Eclipse. It was a journey that I bought 2 tickets. I didn't know who was going to go with me. We hadn't started hooking up yet when I invited my good buddy, Danny Cook, who I grew up with, and he's just like my ultimate adventure friend. And so he said yes, and I was like, sick, let's go. So we leave early for the airport and everything, and my buddy George, who's driving us, gets into the HOV lane in Boston because it was a little bit of traffic, and a fucking car rolls over in the HOV lane. And so we end up having to sit there for like an hour. And when we get to the airport, me and Danny are running through the airport. He catches his flight because we were on different flights. I miss mine. And this is only my second time ever flying. I was terrified, and I didn't know what the hell to do. And the only thing that I could rely on to keep me feeling positive was you. And I remember I called you, and I remember just thinking, like, this girl is my angel, like, straight up. And that was also right when I started getting headaches every single day, and I still had neck tension. I could feel my neck muscles moving around. It was like just so uncomfortable. And airports just suck in general for anyone who's even halfway health conscious. And as a result of that, you were the thing that kept me going. And I noticed that. I was like, whoa, I've never been with someone who can be like my safety net for like really challenging things happening in life. And then I go to this festival. I have a great time. I missed you terribly. I tried to call you, but there was no service, whatever. And then me and Danny both miss our flights back home. And so at least then I had someone to hang out with and commiserate with. But, again, the whole time I could just tell, like, you were my safety net. I was telling you this yesterday. It's kind of like, and I'm going to use a material possession just to make it easy and relatable for people. But like, for any guys out there, okay, maybe women feel this way too, but guys definitely do. For any guys out there, when we get a new car, okay, the day you wake up after getting a new car, immediately when you wake up, you're like, oh, I'm so excited. You're like immediately happy. Well, imagine if that was like 10 levels deeper and never went away. That's what Rachel does for me. Anytime something is going on in life, anytime life's hitting me with a curveball or whatever, I can always be like, yeah, but I have the best relationship in the world with a goddess, that I love with all my heart. And that, I think, is the ultimate thing that has been extremely different in any other relationship I felt. I've never felt anything close to that before than I have with you.
Totally. Thank you, Bob. That made me feel really good, really happy. What a best.
Thanks, babe.
One thing I'll comment on from when you were talking about when we were at the dispensary is the masculine feminine polarity thing, because I see so many people are like, oh, you must be in your feminine and you must There's all these rules for how
I
you get
know.
into a relationship. It's so crazy to me that we
Hmm.
had to make rules that the girl can't ask first and she must do this. Just I don't know. Like I don't know what the girls are supposed to do. They're supposed to have
Be
the
in
guy ask
receiving
her.
mode all the time. You're just
Yeah.
receiving, queen.
Um but I feel like when me and you first got together, I was the more masculine one
Yeah.
and you were the more feminine one. And because I asked you out
Hmm.
and I made it happen.
No, you did.
That was kind of like the energy of our relationship in the beginning is like, I make things happen. I work hard. I'm like gang go getter. And you were kind of like yin, like whatever. And then I feel like it started to switch over COVID through now. Um, and I think that's like as we healed in our relationship and like we started to switch roles. So that's kind of what I was talking about too, like back before. I don't know if I would have dropped more into my feminine if I didn't have you. There was some deep stuff that happened between the two of us that helped it was like I don't know how to explain it. It just like helped it happen, you know?
Yeah.
So I feel like I'm even more in my feminine now at this point in our relationship, like so deeply much more in my feminine.
Yeah. And I feel so much deeper into my masculine now, and that's a big part in relation to me dating you. I mean, honestly, I think it's the ultimate catalyzer. I remember when it shifted for me. It was, God has such a goddamn sense of humor because every time I want to tell this really intimate story, I have to talk about how we were in a fucking strip club when it happened. But it was when we were at that strip club in Las Vegas and we were on MDMA and I fucked up the time and I got us home way later than I promised. And I chose to take ownership and just be like, yeah, it was my fuck up. And it literally still to this day, my ego doesn't know how the hell it happened because it seems like such a whatever. Like, yeah, sorry, I forgot to bring the groceries in. Yeah, sorry, I forgot to do this. Like, it doesn't seem like something that could be an entire fucking life catalyzer, but that's sometimes how it is. And Great Spirit is down for whatever. Obviously there was something in Great Spirit that wanted to experience an awakening in a fucking strip club so that every time I talk about my awakening of turning more into my masculine energy, I have to mention it was in a strip club. So it's hilarious. But yeah, that's when it shifted.
Yeah, and I didn't have to force you to get that.
No.
You got it because the amount of depth and trust that we had built, and I didn't have to say anything.
Yeah.
And I almost feel like that's how our relationship works is I don't have to force and change you. There actually was a point in our relationship, probably 3 or 4 years in, when I would emasculate Ryan a lot, like in my head, to my girlfriends. And I would just like say all these things he's not doing that are not masculine and blah, blah. And I even realized that was my own programming. And it was like I had to start consciously noticing when those thoughts would pop in my head and then reframe to what you do that is masculine. And over time, you've actually stepped up even more into your masculine, I would say. And so another thing I've really learned in our relationship is you can't control each other into changing. You absolutely cannot. Mm-hmm. You just can't. You have to be surrendered on the other person's journey and so focused on your journey and you becoming the best version of yourself in the relationship. It can't be about making the other person the best version of themselves. Like, yeah, I stopped emasculating Ryan in his head for him, but I did it for us, like for our relationship. It was him and it was for me. It doesn't feel good to be shitting on someone you love in your head constantly. It doesn't make you feel like you're like getting to higher and higher heights. It feels like a weight. Like anytime I would emasculate you to my friends, it just felt like a weight, like a problem, like something I had to move through.
Yeah.
And if I kept that being all your responsibility, I don't think we would have had the breakthroughs we needed to have. We just wouldn't have. It was at those tension points, like when I thought it was all on you. Like you think it's the other person, but it's never just the other person.
I was just talking to Shelly today. You guys know Shelly. She's been on the show a couple times. She's essentially my business partner. And we were talking today on her Healer's Ways call about how this exact thing, right? About how, a lot of times, especially in the plant medicine space, right? Like if I get in an argument with you or anyone in my life, and then I think about consuming cannabis, my ego says, no, don't do that. Because then you're going to do that stupid thing you do where you say it was your fault too. And it's not, it's their fault, right? And so we were talking about how there was a mushroom ceremony that she went into, and her partner had been like stressed with a bunch of stuff going on and whatever. And, the thought in her head was like, I'm so excited for him to see how shitty he's been to me, or just like how short he's been with me, or whatever it is. And they go into the experience, and all of a sudden she's like, oh my God, it was all me. Now, again, it's not all her, but what she realized is like, oh my God, I've actually been doing the same thing. That's what I mean when I say, if you spot it, you got it. And that's why one of the many reasons I'm such a big fan of cannabis, because it's pretty challenging to take 5 grams of mushrooms and have a deep conversation. It's very easy with cannabis, and cannabis has so many times shown me, Ryan, I love you to death, bro, but you definitely have a hand in this, and you need to go right this situation because you're a man and that's what men do. And so if I realize I plan out of turn, or let's say even in a crazy universe that doesn't exist, it really was all your fault. Let's say that, right? Let's say that you did something and it was objectively your fault. Well, do I want to go up to you and say, it's all your fault, blah, blah, blah? Or do I want to sit with you and say, hey, Ray, what was going on today? Are you okay? And maybe you tell me a bunch of stuff that has literally nothing to do with me. And so everything I was making out of my head to be like, it was personal. She did it because she wanted to slight me and whatever. All of a sudden I realized, no, she's just a human going through challenges. And you know what? I've done the same thing before. Why am I the pot calling the kettle black here thinking I'm high and mighty? And I think that's what a lot of people are not willing to do, is not willing to accept that even if in a parallel universe it was the other person's fault, well, that person is your fucking person. Why would you ever want to not help them figure out what the hell just occurred? And in doing so, realize that you've definitely done the same thing. That's why you can spot it, because you also got it, and look to come back. Because again, the golden rule, treat others how you want to be treated. If I had fucked up royally, like I did in the strip club, okay, that night where you had said, hey, please get us home by 4 a.m. And then I realized it was 7 a.m. So we're not talking 4:30. I'm talking like I wildly screwed up the time. You didn't hold it over my head forever. You were like, hey.
I didn't think I held it over your head. I just think I was like, oh my God, fuck.
Yeah, exactly. You were like, hey, and the way I explain this is not even that she was frustrated at me. She was frustrated at the situation. You were frustrated at the situation because you were like, oh my God, how am I going to get that fucking application done on the plane tomorrow for that dispensary? But, again, you were like, okay, let's figure this out. And then I learned from that, like, hey, it's safe for me to have a screw up in front of the person I love. She'll still love me. And that's important. You go.
That's what it is in relationship is about respecting each other enough to make each other feel safe when you fuck up. And the safety comes from you both taking responsibility. That's the reason why I am so grateful for you, Ryan. The fact that we do that with each other, because I've had other relationships and friendships, and I'm sure people listening to this can resonate, where you fuck up and you're cut off for good. Like you can't repair it. It's all your fault. You're the bad one. And then the relationship ends. There are so many instances in yours and I relationship where one of us fucked up, where we could have gotten to that point. And we chose not to. We chose to both take responsibility, and then it brings you to a deeper depth, and then it forms a deeper bond, and then you rise even higher together because it forms a level of safety that you've never felt in your life before. You truly can't fuck up. But I've had friendships where I've tried to go into it where I'm taking responsibility for my side, and then they never do. And not everyone's willing to do it. It's usually the person not willing to take responsibility that wants to end the relationship. Because if you are willing to actually take responsibility, even if you think you have no part, then the relationship has a chance. But if one person is not willing, unfortunately, it doesn't. And that's sad to me.
Well, yeah, because there's no compassion. And it's an ego
Yeah.
trip, right? Like, again, there are a couple caveats to this. If you're getting physically abused, yeah, maybe there's no coming back from that. Okay. Like, I want to make sure I make that clear to everyone. I don't take being in a position of small influence, with a heavy hand or whatever. I want to make sure people understand if you're in a toxic relationship and it's not getting any better, I'm not saying to stay through it, but you guys know the difference here. Okay. This is very different. The idea that if Rachel screws up, right, maybe I don't know. I really can't even think of anything that would, be an example. But regardless, let's say she screws up and I want to get on my high and mighty horse and be like, it's irreparable. It's like, oh, really? Have I never done something like that in my life? Am I really not man enough to accept that I've done things like that too? And maybe if I'm not willing to forgive her, it's because I'm not willing to forgive myself, because I actually don't like myself, because I'm ashamed of what I've done and I haven't healed that in myself yet. These are the things that I don't think a lot of people realize in relationship. Like, this isn't going to be a quick fucking dopamine hit, okay? It's going to be hard sometimes. But you know what? The best things in life don't come easy most of the time, all right? If you want to get fit, for instance, right? You want to have a six-pack? You're not going to be able to do that overnight. Does it mean it's not a worthy cause to go down? No, 100%. Get in that gym and go get your goals. But at the same time, I don't know why people think about building a six-pack, let's say it takes 3 years, but building a good relationship, they either got to get it on the first date or they're out if the person says one thing wrong. It's just silly to me.
Yeah. It's funny because I'm really into listening to Reddit stories.
Oh, yeah, I know.
I love watching people read Reddit stories, especially from the relationship columns, and they give their little advice and they get to talk about it. And it's so funny because on every single one of those relationship advice ones, everyone is like, break up with them, break up with them. I'm curious what you think about this. This is something I've been really sitting with, especially in this conversation we're having, is breaking up after cheating. Because cheating, here's what I think about cheating. Cheating is a level of betrayal that shows me that you don't love the person. Mm-hmm. And I think that that's different. Maybe you can get past it, but that is just a surefire way to say you're not at the same morals and standards. And I think you need to be at the same morals and standards to begin a relationship. Because if you are and someone cheats, then they literally told you in that moment they didn't love you. Because if their value is that when I love someone, I don't cheat, then that was them telling you I don't love you anymore. Mm-hmm. I probably never loved you and maybe never even understood what love is. Mm-hmm. So I don't think cheating, most people can come back from, in my opinion. But I'm curious what you think.
I agree. I don't think it's objective because I do know some people personally that, let's talk about transformation, right? Like, I have friends that maybe in earlier years in their life, and they've been together for let's say 10 years. Maybe in the early years, they were young in their 20s. They got really fucked up at a club and they did something completely stupid. It's not an excuse, but they were not really mentally sound enough at that age to really understand the depth of what they had to lose and what they were doing. But then later on really came to terms with that, healed what was inside of them, went to therapy, did coaching, whatever it was, and came back stronger than ever. Do I think that's the norm? Absolutely not. I think if I had to take a random guess, I'd say 9 out of 10 or maybe even 99 out of 100 times someone cheats, they're not coming back from it. I do think there is a very slight opportunity to do it. I don't believe that. Me as a person, again, I mean, we're never going to get put in that situation. So
here's the thing too, though. The reason you and I have soulmate level love is because we know each other's deepest, darkest secrets.
Yeah.
And we are truthful.
Yeah.
And we're not polyamorous or anything, but we're definitely I've healed a lot of abandonment and jealousy stuff through you because we do talk about who we find attractive. Yeah. And we will open ourselves up to experiences together.
Yeah.
And so because we have that level of transparency and truth and openness and freedom, we could have any conversation, come to an understanding and make each other feel safe in our desires and feel free. that deep level of love, there is no reason to ever cheat. And so like cheating comes with surface level love. Exactly. I don't care what you say.
No, I agree with that. I think it comes from also a lack of love for oneself. I think another word I could put there is confusion, like maybe trauma, all of these things. And these aren't excuses, guys. These are just reasons. Like these are logical reasons why these things happen. That being said, I think if a relationship is going to be saved after something like cheating, it would have to be like the statement, you really figure out who you are right after you mess up. Like if you make a mistake in your life, it's who you are right after that mistake that dictates who you really are. So let's say that someone makes a dumb fucking mistake and they do something stupid and they immediately own up to it. They get the healing they need in terms of like, why the fuck did that happen? Right? Like I could see a world where maybe there's something that could be saved there. But I do not think in today's world that most cheating is of that caliber. I think most of it comes from, again, let's actually talk about this. I think based on the people I've talked to that have cheated in the past and things like that, because I've worked with clients that have gone through this, mostly it's because they weren't really aware of what a relationship was. So they're in the honeymoon phase. Things are great. They're attracted to their partner. Their partner's attracted to them. They get about a year in, maybe a year and a half in. They have their first gigantic blow up. And the person's like, well, fuck this. And they go find the quickest dopamine hit. Because really what they're looking for, if they really were honest with themselves, was not true love. It was distraction and ego glorification. So as soon as their partner stops doing that,
some sort of like pleasure and admiration, some sort of attention, codependency.
Exactly. And so as soon as
through like a false sense of safety.
Yeah. And as soon as their partner starts saying, hey, why are you doing that thing? Hey, what's going on over here? Hey, why are you showing up? Hey, why'd you lie over here? They're like, peace. See you later. I'm just going to go cheat. And I think that's one of the things that is really sad, honestly, because, at the end of the day, there's nothing I've ever found in my life that's as valuable as our relationship. Not even close.
And it's because, you want to know what I think it also is too? Like,
please.
Maybe we should even define what love is, because I've learned what love is being in a relationship with you. Love is truth. Point blank. I don't fucking care what you say. A white lie. Like, love is truth. Love is truth. Love is, I'm going to sound like a broken record, but anytime you're away from truth, and I'm going to take it a step further, and I think a lot of people aren't going to agree with me, even fucking white lies is you stepping away from love. Love is a battleground. Let's be real. And there you can win amazing victories. But truth is going to result in certain battlegrounds. Like truth rocks the boat. It liberates, it transforms, it alchemizes, it purifies. It is the phoenix rising from the ashes. Love, the deepest love is transformative. And most people don't want real love because they don't want to have to feel a battleground by being in their truth. And I think that's, if we go back to what you were talking about, how we've gone on those 9-11 hour drives back from Virginia, man, those have battlegrounds. Talk about a battleground. Usually, and especially after we've done, let's say, MDMA, and then we've gone like an 11-hour fight. I don't think most people could hold that level of intensity that me and you, like 11 hours of it. We give birth. We fucking give birth. A lot.
It's like going to a death metal concert, less screaming. Right? We're not screaming like that, but still it's intense.
It's truth. I'm turning away from you for an hour. Then it's like getting back to the house, and maybe keeps going to the point of exhaustion, obliteration, to the point where we're like, all right, this is getting ridiculous. Like, then I think we've both learned, okay, where are we both coming from? How can we take responsibility? It's at the exhaustive place, the place where you have nothing left to give and you surrender. It's very rare that I've met people willing to do that.
You know what? A story or memory just came into my mind is I was when we still lived upstairs. For everyone listening, if you care to know, we moved downstairs in this apartment at some point in the last year. But anyway, when we lived upstairs, we had taken a drive home from Virginia, And beforehand, we were both like, hey, we're really aware this usually happens, right? This fight. So we're not going to do it this time. Okay, high five. And we didn't. We got all the way home.
Oh,
11
yeah,
fucking hours, right? We're literally pulling into the driveway. And you said something, triggered me. And again, parentheses here, it had nothing to do with Rachel and everything to do with something I already believed inside of me. But then I projected it back on her. If you're going to talk to me like that, then XYZ or whatever kind of, non-negotiable I gave you.
There was something I saw on Instagram. That's what it was that bothered me. Some action I wanted to take that you didn't agree with. And then I was like, fuck you and fuck you.
Yeah. And then literally we start arguing, right? And we're both exhausted. We just drove back 11 hours. We've been hanging out for days and whatever. And I remember I was getting really heated. And again, I can tell I have that suspicion in my head when it happens of like, hey, you're doing that thing again, right? But the voice that's overwhelmingly loud is like the teenager, like, fuck that. This is different. I'm like, no, I think it's the same. But I keep trying to make it, well, if you're going to say that, then I'm going to leave. And I keep trying to do the thing that's going to make you go like, I'm sorry or whatever. And you're just not doing it. And then I come into the bedroom, right? And I give like my Hail Mary. I was like so proud of my ego about it. I was like, well, if you're not going to do this, then I'm going to do that. And it didn't even make sense what I said. And I was trying to keep a straight face and not laugh because I was like, that was literally silly. That didn't make any sense. I
said to you, this is ridiculous.
Yeah, I know. And you literally said, you looked at me with like that kind of like seductive but funny look. And you were like, this is ridiculous, dude. And in that moment, we just laughed hysterically. And then I was like, do you want me to make you a bag? And she was like, yeah. And then I was like, all right. And then it was over.
In that moment, we could both see why we reacted that way and what wound we were ruffling in each other.
Yeah.
And then usually after that, I'm like, well, I'll never react in that way again because of that, because that's not true. And you'll say the same thing. Like, we'll see what the wound was in that moment.
Well, and to give credit where credit is due, ladies and gents, for you men out there or women that like women, whatever, all right, find a feminine counterpart that's fucking really intuitive. Because for a lot of my life, this is one of the challenging patterns that you've helped me heal through. When I used to watch my parents argue, it wasn't about who was right. It was about who can piss off the other one enough that the other one blows up and then they can be like, you see, you blew up. You're the bad guy or bad girl, right? And so I was used to arguing like that through my life. And when I met Rachel, it was totally different. She was like, I'm not going there with you. Tough shit. And I was like, why? Like, no, like you're wrong in this way. She's like, I'm not doing it, dude. Piss off. And that ability, she's like, no, I'm going to stick right to the thing I originally said. You're not going to trigger me in this other stuff and leave me on a wild goose chase here. Okay. We're going to stay right on the thing that you want to try to make something else to make yourself seem cooler in. And that right there is exactly why that night happened, because my ego had got itself in to a pickle it couldn't get out of. And once it gave its Hail Mary and she was like, oh yeah, really? And it had nothing left. The only other thing left was to surrender. And so again, like find someone who would challenge you. Don't find someone who's a yes man or yes woman. Find someone who's like, no, that's not how things are going to go. Because in my opinion, that's the only way you grow. You can't be afraid of the confrontation. Okay. Obviously, once again, for the third time in this episode, I'm not talking about getting physical. We've never gotten physical and not even a fucking sliver of it. But we've yelled, we've raised our voices. And at the end of the day, that's how you win. Because again, it shows you staying power. It's the same thing as like if crypto tanks, you still going to have confidence. You still going to believe in it. If your business isn't making money, you still going to believe in it. Like this is why I say how we do anything is how we do everything. Your ability to stay when shit gets hard is directly related to your ability to be successful in any fucking area of your life. That's how you really become highly optimized. You stay even when it's not easy in a world where everything has been made easy, quote unquote. That's the way you win, in my opinion.
It's devotion. You are you're so propelled by finding love and being moved by love that you're willing to sit there to find the love in the explosion of uncomfortability and intensity where you just want to die.
Yeah.
It's really like a kink almost. Like
I
think me and you have that kink.
No, I do. Honestly, I'm so glad you mentioned that because I do think that like I've always enjoyed it a little bit. I've always enjoyed when things get messy a little bit. I've always enjoyed a little bit of chaos. Why do you think I like taking acid at music festivals? That's insane to most people. But I like it because it's kind of chaotic. I don't really know what the hell is going to happen. It's novel. And so when we're going through that And there's that little bit of fear in me of like, oh my God, like what's going to happen here? I never feel more alive, and I never realize how important something is to me than when I'm on the brink of thinking that like, oh my God, like this could end. And so at the end of the day, the ability of you to stay is everything in life. In a world full of people who just want to leave the second shit gets hard, be someone who shows up even when it gets hard. It's very similar to an ice bath. If you want to make it very practical here.
It's funny. I was literally thinking that. I was like, it's ice bath. It's like, yeah.
Well, it's like if you want to do an ice bath and you get in there not thinking it's cold, you get in, you're like, oh my God, it's so cold. It's like, dude, yeah, it's an ice bath. What did you think it was going to be? A warm 75-degree climate? It's like, duh. And that's how I feel when a lot of people get into relationships and are like, oh my God, it's hard and all my stuff's coming up. I'm like, yeah, dude, what do you think this whole thing is for? Like, you know what I mean? But at the same time, though, if you learn how to control your breathing in an ice bath and you remind yourself, it's all working out for me. It's all working out for me. And you allow yourself to sit there, what do you realize? That eventually the discomfort goes away and actually becomes bliss, because bliss is any emotion felt all the way through. And in the cave you fear most to enter holds the treasure you seek. This is why we both love Yes Theory, one of our favorite channels, because of their message, seek discomfort. Relationships are the ultimate potential discomfort. Not all the time, all right? You shouldn't have a relationship that's constantly discomfortable.
No, we're not like constantly fighting.
No,
like most
God, no.
days we're like, I'm obsessed with you. I'm so grateful to have you.
No,
but it's because of all the stuff we're talking about. It's because of that depth we've built.
You know what is something really funny, and I highly recommend for you people out there, if you're in relationships, try this out, right? I like messing with Rachel, okay? She happens to be a little gullible. I also am gullible, okay? So I'm not, again, pot called the kettle black. But I like messing with her. So what I'll do, right, is if I know she's in the middle of something and maybe a little bit like strung thin, I'll come in and in like a tone, I'll be like, Ray, I need to talk to you. And she's like, what? And I'm like, I just wanted to tell you you're the most beautiful girl that I've ever met, and my life would not be the same without you, and you complete me, okay? And then it'll just lighten her whole day up, and I'll be like, okay, I'll see you later. And then I leave her to her thing. And she'll do the same thing to me. And it's funny how much that just alters the course of every one of our days. We literally make an entire habit out of all day reminding each other how amazing we are, how much we love each other. And again, like, I have a loose connection through a friend who runs a podcast called Date Your Wife. And this is obviously a guy running it, of course, but I think the whole idea is like, date your partner, like never stop. Like the whole honeymoon phase ends thing is bullshit. Okay. It's fucking bullshit. It can get better and better and better, because what are you doing in a relationship over time? You're starting to reveal more and more of who you really are. And as you start to do that, of course, shit would get better, because you're not bogged down by all the shit that wasn't ever you to begin with, that you inherited from your family, or you inherited through society, or through what some podcast said. Again, like this is really identity alchemy and relationship alchemy at work. And the whole goal, if we want to think of it this way, is to get back to as close to as oneness as we can within this illusion of separation. That's why I think people want to be with other people, whether platonically or definitely romantically. The closer you are with someone, the more you get to experience oneness through them, which is our truth in reality. This is all an illusion we get to play in. It's not a bad illusion. It's not a worthless illusion. It's a fun illusion. But the only way it really becomes fun is if you lessen the amount of shit you're carrying with you that your ancestors didn't know how to get rid of because they were too busy trying not to get killed by mountain lions and shit. We are now in a generation where we have the space to deal with this stuff, and we get to deal with it. And it's fucking fun. And it's so fun. And that's literally what, if I had to explain our relationship in one word, it would be fun. Because I have so much fun with you, Ray. Yes, we're in love. Yes, we have amazing sex and all the things, but you're also my best friend. And we mess with each other in a funny way all the time. We're pulling jokes on each other. Like we're doing funny stuff with each other. We're taking Pierre for walks. We're imitating him talking in his Pierre voice. We're doing all this stuff. And that's what makes a really good relationship. Don't believe all this shit about the honeymoon phase. Just be very careful. Okay. I'll put it this way. Be very careful what information you take in overall, but especially when it comes to relationships, because I'll tell you, in my life through friends and stuff, yeah, I've seen some really healthy relationships, some really awesome ones that are very similar to ours, if I had to, kind of put a name to it. But growing up, I didn't see any of that. I saw people that did what they thought they should do. You know, my parents stayed together because they thought they should for me, and I'm very grateful. But I didn't really see an example of like a really like people get more obsessed with each other as time goes on. Like one of the things that I love doing is reminding Rachel all the time how goddamn sexy she is. You know, coming up behind her and wrapping my arms around her. I've learned over time not to just throw my arms around her because I'm an Aries and she's a Taurus, but like to come up and remind her like, dude, you're like so attractive. I can barely think around you because it's true. It's fucking true. And the more I admit it, the more it happens. And now I only got eyes for one person because it's all I can even focus on. And that I think is like all those things are so fun, ladies and gents. Really like make your relationship a fun game that you both get to win at and you'll never lose.
Ladies, I will also say that I compliment Ryan a lot too. Like it's not, and I'll say there actually was a point in our relationship where he complimented me more than like looks wise, I'm talking about more than I complimented his looks. It just didn't cross my mind to like I thought he was hot and sexy. I just didn't think to ever say it. And I started to learn like how important that was. And then I started to say it and now I naturally say it all the time. Like it's like easy to say, like wants to come out of me and he loves it. But I don't know what it is. Like I know some women feel like they can't, I don't know. They don't want to like compliment. I think it's probably the same thing for men. Some men don't want to compliment their woman. Just some people don't feel like they should be complimenting. But it's kind of like, when you have a gratitude practice every day and you're like focusing on what you're grateful for, the more I have like focused on everything I love about you, it naturally comes out of my mouth. And then our relationship just expands and gets better and better. Here's the thing too, like I kind of mentioned this before, but there were periods in like where we've gotten kind of crunchy, right? Like where I talked about this, like we could have broken up or something. And I know how it feels to be in a relationship in that way where you're just talking shit about the person and they suck and he sucks. And how do we ever get over this? And like, if in those moments, if you can realize you're just creating your own reality, like you really are, no matter what your brain convinces you of, that's where the real work is.
Definitely. 100%. You know, for you guys out there, I guarantee whether you're heterosexual, homosexual, whatever, if your counterpart comes up to you and says, I need a really sexy man to come hang this mirror, that dude's going to jump out of his seat to come do that mirror. All right. And vice versa. When I come out to Rachel and I'm like, I need a really amazing woman who I love that can put her love into some food and maybe cook me something. She's like,
or I say, I don't want to eat food like I don't want to cook food like last night. Yeah. And then you're all like, oh, I would have felt really good. Like he just does these things where I'm like, he was not guilt tripping me.
Yeah.
It's out of love that I'm like, okay, I can overcome my own a little bit of laziness and I can make you food.
Yeah. And I can overcome some of my laziness.
We're playful about it.
Exactly.
We're playful about it. We're not like, this is your role and you must.
Yeah. That's like the part of, you know, to call out a name that is very triggering in the world. That's the part of Andrew Tate stuff I don't agree with. Like, I understand masculine and feminine polarities. I can imagine how he came to those conclusions, but that just sounds like a terrible life to live. Like, I just want an obedient wife and guys just want obedient virgins. I'm like, I'm a guy and I don't want that at all. I want a girl that's going to challenge me every fucking step of the way.
It's not attractive. No one wants someone who's going to do everything the other person says. It's about becoming your own sovereign person in the relationship.
Mm-hmm. You know,
it's
the
like
only type.
I was going to say, it's like you become three people in a relationship. You become the relationship that's growing and evolving, but you are still like, it's all equal.
Yeah. To me, a man that tries to control his partner and be like, you have to be subservient to me. You know what that man is? Weak to me. Because a true man that is confident, that is courageous, would want to know his blind spots and would choose a woman or partner that he would feel safe exploring those things with. You know, control to me just comes from fear. And, you know, again, like that's just not my flavor of ice cream at all. It doesn't lead to any fun, you know, because at the end of the day, if I can't hear you share things with me of like my blind spots, how strong am I of a man? Like, who am I to call myself a courageous man if I can't even hear the person I love most share intimate things with me about how maybe I'm not showing up for her or myself or our family in the way that I want to, and she deserves it, you know?
Yeah, and also on that vein, ladies, because I know some women do this, and I've always, again, not saying this to sound ego, I just think I'm talking about a pattern and why I think I've gotten this to work in my favor, and it's been confirmed through conversations we've had. I have always been really well taken care of financially in relationships. The guy wants to I've always been given lots of gifts. Like, they want to give me financial stuff, but there's never been one point that I ever expected it or ever made it a rule or ever made them provide to me. I actually go in thinking like I don't expect it at all. I'm gonna pull my weight. I'm going to give, I'll pay if you want. And it's almost like, because I'm not like, oh, you got to pay, that I've gotten, like, you tell me almost every day, Rachel, I can't wait to pay for your whole life and give you everything. You never have to do anything in your life except for exactly what you want to. Like, I believe I receive that because I absolutely do not expect it.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely not. I receive it really fucking well.
Yeah, I love it.
Yeah, I'm really good at receiving it, but it comes from no expectation. And that's actually something I've seen with women where they expect the man to pay, and that's control, whether we want to admit it or not. And it's one of the rules I've seen go out in the dating world. The rules are what blocks relationships, having these weird rules around how you need to be and how things need to act. Me and Ryan have a great polarity relationship, but it happened naturally.
Yeah, 100%. Mm-hmm. You know, and that's kind of more that Andrew Tate thinking of like, a guy's just an ATM and a girl is just for sex. And it's like, that is so, I'm going to say it, it's retarded. It doesn't make any sense. It literally is so stupid to me. It's like, I can't even figure out an analogy for that. God's even like, I don't even know what to tell you, dude. That's just retarded. So at the end of the day, guys, Rachel and I are going to do more of these sessions, you know, and if you guys have any questions that you'd like us to answer or any feedback, please feel free to reach directly out to me on Instagram at @TheRealRyanSprague, or if you have Facebook, you can reach out to me there. You know, I want to hear from you guys. Was this valuable for you guys? Did you enjoy this? You know, Rachel and I have thrown around the idea of maybe even having our own relationship podcast. All right. So,
where you put in questions and we answer them, and we can get relationship advice.
Exactly. Because if there's one thing we figured out, it's how to stay in a relationship and how to make a relationship really fucking fun, you know, and how to make it very full of love and, you know, again, and how to deal with the challenges that come up in a safe manner where both people feel safe to let it get messy. Let's yell at each other a little bit. Let's do whatever. And then be like, sorry. Okay, cool. We're good now. And so, Rach, thank you so much for coming on, baby. As always, I love you so much. You are the most amazing person I've ever met in my life. And I feel so grateful that I get to share my life with you. Sorry, I almost got emotional there. But
I love him. He's my everything.
But as a last question, I'm going to change up my normal last question for you on the fly. We'll see how it comes up, okay? Let's say someone listening to this episode right now wants to know the one thing that Rachel Varitimos would say would lead to a highly optimized relationship. What would that one thing be they can start doing for themselves? Or let's say if they're single or in a relationship.
Focus on your own passion. Become so passionate with your life that that's the magnetism to you then meeting the person you want to be with. It's the magnetism to being in a good relationship. And it's something that I've actually gotten really clear that is the main key. It's like, be your own sovereign person and tap into what you're passionate about.
Spoken like a true, amazing goddess. Baby, I love you so much. Guys, thank you so much for tuning in. If you loved this episode, please go give us a 5-star review. It helps us get the show out to more awesome people like you. My ultimate intention with this podcast and everything I do is to help people tap into their authentic expression, help them bring in their unique magic to the world. And if you know someone that could benefit from this episode, please send it their way. I would be forever grateful. Rachel would be forever grateful. And as always, guys, wherever you are in the world, whatever's going on, I hope you're having the best day of your entire life. And until next time, to infinity and beyond. Much love, everybody. Peace.